Well, hello, welcome again to our reading of selections from Aeschylus's Prometheus Bound, and I got up to last time line 335 here, which is the reply of Okeanos to Prometheus. Okeanos, remember, has offered to assist, and Prometheus thanks him for that and tells him basically to look out for his own troubles. So Okeanos replies, "Poloi ge amenon tus pelas phrenun ephus e siauton." Now, ephus is from phuo. It's a funny verb. It means to be by nature. So you are by nature, indeed, for the ge. Better by much, so better by far. This is an infinitive here from phrenoo, to instruct or advise. So you are by nature much better at advising those near. Now this is an adverb here, it's just tous pelas, the ones who are near. This doesn't decline. Than sauton for seauton, then for yourself. Two iota adscripts here. So tekmairamai. Well, perhaps something like, I infer this by your actions and not by your words. Horomenon de medemos antispaces. Again, the iota adscript here. This is a subjunctive here from antispao, and it's being used here in place of an imperative. So it means in no way hold back one who is, well, moving forward, one who is on the go. So he's referring to the fact that Okeanos has offered to help him. Prometheus has told him not to, and he said, but he now says, do not hold back in any way. Me, understood, who am keen to assist the one moving forward, the one who is keen to help. Alko ga alko. This is from alkeo. That's an epsilon contract verb. So for I boast, he repeats it. I boast that Zeus, dosane, future infinitive, will give, or will grant, probably, tain didorian, this boon, it's a free gift, so this gift emoi to me, hosti plus the infinitive. So with the result that you will, with the result that, understand, he will release you from these labours, from these troubles. So he will grant this boon so as to release you from these troubles. Prometheus now replies, quite a long speech of Prometheus, where he's going to give various examples of other people who've crossed Zeus and come off the worst for it. So he says, ta men. Now there's no corresponding det that I could see here. I think the atar, which is a very strong but here, is balancing the men here, but otherwise it's men solitarium, it's just men without any det. So the ta men you take together adverbially. It's sort of well, on the one hand, I praise you. Now, ku udame is kai plus udame. Lexo is future from lego, to cease, or to put a stop to. So on the one hand, I praise you, and I'm not putting a stop. I'm not causing you ever to cease in any way. For el lepes, you lack. So you are lacking in no respect of. So you are lacking in zeal, or possibly goodwill here for prothumia, uden in any way. Ater, but maiden pone. This is almost don't bother. This is an imperative here from poneo, again, which you can see from the accent there. So he says, but labour in respect of nothing. So it's almost like our don't bother. For you will labour in vain, assisting me, from Ophelio, assisting me, uden, in respect of nothing. So doing me no assistance at all. Now the kai here is, I think, is important. Even if you wish, ponein, to achieve something, to do some task. So even if you wish to do something. So in English you could take that as first. So even if you wish to do something, you will act in vain, doing nothing of any use, emoi, to me. I think, I'm going to check this up. I think this may be a future participle here with the being about to. Some from Ophello. Al hezukazde siao time emponon ekon. But hezukazde, we've had that before. It's keep silent. Literally holding yourself ekpodon, out of the way. You get empodon and ekpodon in Greek, in the way and out of the way. It's got to do with feet, at your feet or something, but sort of getting it out from under your feet, but it has the sense of holding yourself out of the way, for ekpodon. Ego ga uk e dus tuko to the huneka. I'm going to go to the next page. For I, even if I am faring ill, even if I am suffering terrible misfortune, on account of this, now I've got to keep the ego uk in our heads. So even if I am suffering misfortune, on account of this, ego uk, theloim an, hos a pleistoi sipamonus to Cain. I would not wish, and this is slightly tricky here, so I would not wish that misfortunes to happen, so I would not wish that, for the hose here, so I would not wish that misfortunes to take place or to happen, pleistoisi, well, literally to as many as possible, so as many others as possible. In other words, even though I'm suffering ill, I wouldn't want anyone else to experience these miseries. Udate, no indeed. Epe me kai cassigne tu tukai terus atlantos hosperos hesperus ponus heste ke kion uranu te kai ktonos omoi sineredon akthos udi u ankalon. So now he gives the example here of his relative, who is another Titan, who is Atlas. So since the Tukai, the misfortunes of my brother, in fact it is his relative, it's his brother, so the misfortunes of my brother Atlas, genitive here, wear upon me, so they distress me, from Tero. So the misfortunes of my brother Atlas distress me. He who Hestake stood at the, literally the, well, it's the western places, the western parts. It's the place where this is the word for evening, of course. It's the place where the sun sets, and hence in the west. The Atlas, of course, revolted with the Titans against Zeus, and his punishment was that he had to then support the sky. Hesiod places him in the far west, whence our term the Atlantic Ocean. So So the misfortunes of my brother Atlas distress me. He who stood at the western parts, western places, Eradone, supporting, it's a participle here, so supporting the pillar, supporting on his two shoulders. There's a dual here from Omos. So supporting on his two shoulders the Keon, the pillar of, we would say, between heaven and earth. A burden not easy to shoulder, literally. Not easy to have on your shoulders. A burden not easy to bear. So that's the first example he gives of someone who's crossed Zeus and been punished for it. And the second example he says now, the verb here is oiktera, from oiktero. This is just an aorist here with the adscript. So, having seen, I pity the earth-born oiktera inhabitant of Cilicia, of the Cilician caves, the Deion Terras, the destructive monster. A terras has a range of meanings. It can mean a portent or a monster, something terrible. So, and Deus is this, connected with this idea of destructive. So this destructive monster, he's referring here to Typhon. The hecaton karanon. Now you see hecaton, and then because it's being joined with a word beginning with kara, meaning head, the nasal changes from a dental nasal, nu, because it's coming next to a guttural here, it changes to a guttural nasal, which is written as gamma. So this is pronounced hecaton karanon. And it's changed from a nu to a gamma because that's a nasal, a guttural nasal. Greek didn't have a special symbol for that, so simply used the letter gamma for this guttural nasal. Anyway, it means the 100-headed one, who was, this is a passive, from kairo is to overpower or to worst, and this is a passive here, so being overpowered, being overpowered by might. The Typhon Thuron, so impetuous or typhon, terrible typhon. So Typhon was another of these Titans. He was the last son of Gaia, and he gets punished as well for standing up against Zeus. Now there's a problem here, it's to do with the meter, so that's why it's obelized here. I'll just translate it as it is. You can have a look at the commentaries on this and the various different suggestions. But you can, it translates okay. So he stood up against all the gods. Lovely sound patterns in this next line. Smerdanaisi, Gamphelaisi, Sorisdon, Phobon. So he stood up to them with his terrible jaws, and he was hissing fear, literally. So it's a very strong line. It's only a 4-word line with long words in it. Smerdanaisi, Gamphelaisi, Sorisdon, Phobon, with his terrible jaws hissing out fear. And another powerful line as well here, and the Gorg Opon, his fierce-eyed brightness flashed forth from Astrapto, from his eyes. So there's an alpha got augmented there. So fierce-eyed brightness flashed forth from his eyes. Now we've got hose plus a future participle. This is from ekpertho. So as he was about literally to destroy, pertho is to sack a city, ekpertho is to thoroughly sack it, and hence, and it's referring to the the tyranny of Zeus. So it's slightly metaphorical here. And this is the Oda adscript again. So just as he was about to destroy by force the rule or the tyranny of Zeus. Allah, but he gets caught by Zeus and punished. But the Agrupnon, the unsleeping missile of Zeus, came, understand, against him. The thunderbolt Okeanos, katabates. Now, katabates, usually an epithet of Zeus. It means one who swoops downwards, one who moves downwards, but here it's referring to the lightning bolt. So the lightning, the descending or the swooping lightning bolt, which was breathing out fire, ekpneon, participle here, breathing out fire or a flame. So it's referring to the Okeanos. It exeplexe from ekplaso. It knocked literally knocked him from his high-minded or high-worded, grandiloquent boastings. This is from compasma. There's a verb compasdo, to boast. This is a third declension noun here. We had that word before, this grandiloquent or high speaking. It's quite a rare word, although the roots are fairly clear. And it was used, of course, by Okeanos against Prometheus himself, and now he's using it, mentioning it in the context of Typho. Frenaska es autos tupes, and for having been struck, this is a passive participle, aorist passive participle from tupto here, I think. For having been struck in his very mind, we get another three-word line here, which again is a very powerful line, and again slightly onomatopoetic here. Epeps alothe kaxebronthe stenos. Literally, he was burnt to ashes, and he was blasted out by thunder. To try and get all the roots of this, you get the bront root here. It's from ek brontio, and there's a chi at the beginning. So it's an aorist passive. So he was blasted out by thunder in respect of his strength. So he was burnt to ashes, and his strength was blasted out by thunder. Kai nuna creon kai para oron demas. And now with a body which is useless, alpha privative here in the cray root, which is useless, and para oron is something like outstretched or sprawling. With an outstretched and useless body, Kaita he lies, Placion near the narrow sea, the Stenopu Thalasiu. Probably a reference here, scholars think, to the Straits of Messina, because it's near Etna. So he lies near this narrow, well, perhaps straits or sea here. Ipumenos, this is from ipio is the verb, it's present contract. I think it's Homeric. It means pressed down or crushed beneath the roots, that is the base, or it's the Etnean roots, so it's the base of Etna. Literally pressed down beneath the Etnean roots, the roots or the base of Mount of Etna, where of course there was a volcano, which was still active volcano, and in fact there had been an eruption of Mount Etna just prior to 479, which this might be an allusion to this here. So pressed down by that. So sitting. It changes subject here now. Hephaestos. So Hephaestos is sitting on the high peaks, and his muda ktupoi. The ktupio is to forge, and the mudra is heated metal. So he forges masses of heated metal, Enthen, from which Poti one day rivers of fire, ek ragesontai, will flow forth. So ek ragesontai will flow forth, will burst forth. Daptontes, eating literally, or biting I should say, biting, perhaps devouring, with its agriais ganathos, with its wild jaws. So this is a reference, of course, to an eruption with its wild jaws. The lurus guas, the smooth fields of Sicily, which is Kalikarpos, which produces beautiful fruit. Toion di tufos ex anaxese colon. Now the verb here is ex anaxeo, which is to boil up with. The toiondi goes with colon. So it's something like, such is the anger which Typho will boil up with. And the last little bit here, thermais aplatu belesin purpnou sales. So he'll boil up with this anger, with hot missiles of unapproachable, fire-breathing sales rain. So such is the anger that Typhon, with which Typhon will boil up, with his hot missiles of unapproachable fire-breathing rain. Kaiper, although anthrakomenos, this is a funny verb here, it's a perfect passive participle, meaning charred or turned into cinders, burnt to a crisp, by the, so we get kaiper plus a participle. So although he's burnt to a crisp by the thunderbolt of Zeus, sud uk, and I'm going to stop there actually, we'll continue this because that's the end of the reference here to these two Titans, Atlas and Typho, and I'll continue this in the next recording.